Great. Good morning, almost afternoon to everybody. So my name's Nick Silverman. I probably what gives me the most validation for being up here is I was a co-author on the state climate assessment, which came out in 2017. And so I always like to plug that. If anybody would like to dive into that more, that's at montanaclimate.org. So there's lots more information. But today I'm going to talk specifically about wildfires and wildfire smoke. The idea is to kind of give a baseline, and I will jump to the conclusion of my presentation right now. Wildfires and wildfire smoke are probably going to continue to get worse in Missoula. So I don't really need to go through this. That's the big point that you guys are supposed to get from this presentation. And then I'll move out of the way and we'll hear a lot more interesting stuff about what we can do about it. But to prove to you that that is indeed going to happen, I will walk through a few slides here. But first, I thought it would be kind of fun, interesting, entertaining to look at some of the current events. This is from last week. These are some quotes about wildfires, specifically in the West, but we had both of our state senators there commenting on that, Daines and Tester. So Trump commented on it. He says, "You can't have dirty floors. You can't have fallen trees. The process of cleaning is now really taking precedent. A lot of people are looking at forest management. It's a word that people didn't really understand last year, and now they're getting it. And you don't have to have any forest fires." I wish I had a better Trump accent. I think it would be way better. So Daines' response was, either we are going to manage our forests or our forests are going to manage us. We've got to deal with the wildfire situation. We have, and we can reduce the risk of wildfires and severity of those fires by better forest management. And then Tester, his comment on this was this, meaning forest management, needs to be coupled with habitat conservation, improve public access, and a comprehensive approach to the underlying cause for wildfires, climate change. So, these are the order in which they were spoken at the meeting last week at the White House, but they're also, I think, kind of in the order in which makes sense. This first quote by Trump, a lot of things don't really make sense in there, but the biggest one is forest management is not going to eliminate forest fires. Doesn't matter. It is part of the equation, but we will not solve that problem with just managing our forests. So Daines hits it a little bit closer to reality, which is that forest management can help with the severity of our wildfires. This is very much true. And then I think Tester really nails it, saying forest management is important, but there are other things like the underlying cause, which is climate change. And so climate change is what I'm going to talk about mostly here. And I'll start off with just some data that I put together after the 2017 devastating wildfire season that I think we all probably remember. And this was just saying, okay, well, let's take a look at what is the relationship between wildfire and climate. And so what you see here, this is the relationship between the number of acres burned in Montana over the last 20, 30 years, and temperature. You can see that that number of acres burned increases, and that's almost an exponential relationship there. This is that same relationship, but with precipitation. So you can see as precipitation decreases, that those number of acres burned decreases. And then this is just a drought index. So it's a combination of temperature and precipitation. And you can see here that the more droughty it is, the more drought that we have, the more acres burned. So this makes sense. That wasn't peer-reviewed, but this paper was. This came out just this past year. Decreasing fire season precipitation increased recent Western U.S. Forest wildfire activity. So this was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, a very prestigious academic journal. And you'll notice, maybe or maybe not, but about half of those authors come from the University of Montana. So their big conclusion is that declines in summer precipitation have likely been a primary driver of increases in wildfire acres burned. So this is historically, they've shown a very strong relationship between declines in precipitation and wildfire. And then they go on to say that our findings are consistent with future climate projections, which predict further decreases in summer precipitation and longer dry periods between rain events across much of the West. So let's take a look at the future projections. Okay, so this is a figure that shows increases or change in temperature projected by mid-century. And what you're seeing is what you can really focus on is just this top line. That's the Northwest Climate Division. That's the division that we're located in. These are the other divisions in the state of Montana. The patterns are all similar, so not to confuse you too much, but if you just look across here, that's the months of the year. This is, again, projected by mid-century, the differences in temperature. And you can see that June, July, August, September, that's where we're expected to see our biggest increases in temperature. And of course, that aligns, unfortunately, very nicely with wildfire season. When we look at, can I do this one better? Okay, there we go. When we look at precipitation, changes there, the green here, that's increases in precipitation. Overall, we're actually expected to see more precip in western Montana, but you'll see these brown colors, again, in the June, July, August, September time period, wildfire season. Those colors are decreasing precipitation. So again, those conditions that the previous publication that I showed you are suggesting caused such these increases in wildfire across the west are what we're projecting here in northwest Montana. And so if you don't believe all these climate projections, you can just look at the 2017 conditions. Here's the average. This is just 2017 relative to historical conditions. And you can see that average winter temperatures all above normal. This is what we were showing in our climate projections. The average winter precipitation above normal, also what we're showing in our climate projections. And then when you look at summer temps, way above normal, and summer precip way below normal. Again, very consistent with what we're projecting by mid-century. And I think we all remember what happened in 2017 in terms of wildfire smoke. So you can project stuff into the future, but we can also just look historically at what these conditions might mean. And then lastly, I'll just show you a study that came out specifically looking at the future of wildfire smoke risk across the western United States. So this is a paper that came out in 2017, particulate air pollution from wildfires in the western U.S. under climate change. And you can see these red areas are the areas that are projected by mid-century to have the highest risk for smoke. And unfortunately, we are very much right in the heart of that red area with the highest risk. So historically, we've seen this. We're projecting the climate conditions that will unfortunately probably increase these risks into the future. So I'll just leave you guys with a few summary points. One, I've talked a lot about wildfire. Of course, wildfire is local, but we know that smoke is not. So we've already had some smoky days this summer. There's no wildfires. They're all coming in from Canada. So smoke is a lot harder to sort of grasp. And smart forest management is definitely important, and it's something we need to consider, but it's not going to eliminate wildfires or wildfire smoke. And then lastly, I'll just say, given what we know about the relationship between climate and wildfires, which I showed, and what our best models project for the future climate in Montana, which I also showed, we should expect increasing wildfire smoke and the length of wildfire season into the future. So I'll hold, I guess, questions for later, but I think I'm personally going to be taking notes. I'm really interested to hear what the rest of the speakers have to say about what to do with it. So thank you guys very much.